And joining us now, National Education Association President Becky Pringle. Becky, it's really good to have you. So what do you think of what Rahema just reported there, that it does seem like their language has changed around what Donald Trump intends to do?
You know, Katie, I'm actually in Denver, Colorado right now. I've joined thousands and thousands of educators and parents and students demanding that there be no more cuts at the state level. And they know that how devastating it would be for the federal government to cut funds from our students. And Katie, you know, it's all of our students. It's all of them. All of them will have been impacted by the reality that federal funds will not come to our states and our school districts in the way that we know they support our students with disabilities. They support our students who come from low-income families. We know that without that federal funding, Katie, our class sizes are going to balloon, so we won't be able to meet those individual needs of our students. And we understand that the ultimate goal here is to take money away from our kids, to steal money from them, to fund tax cuts for billionaires. We are not fooled by this move, and we will continue to stand up and lift up our voices and fight for our students, for their future, for our communities, for this country.
So you heard Caroline Leavitt there talk about how student loans will still be run out of the Department of Education. I am curious about the aid for children with disabilities, children who are speaking another language, need to be brought up to speed, children who live in lower income communities or more rural communities, these places that more heavily, these students in these places that more heavily rely on these federal fundings. What does a day in the classroom look like without this money?
Well, first of all, Katie, you saw Linda McMahon say that after they fired half of their staff, that we wouldn't feel a difference. But we felt a difference the very next day when parents and students were calling in to get help with their financial aid. We know educators are feeling it right now, where school districts are making decisions about their budget, and they're feeling it right now. The reality that they will not have arts and music, the reality that they will not have after school programs, the reality that they will have larger class sizes, the reality that over 400,000 of our educator jobs, that's teachers and support staff, are funded by the federal government. That will have an impact on all of our schools. All of our public schools will feel that, real schools, real students in those schools. Because the reality is, Katie, and you know this, 90% of our students go to public schools, and 95% of our students with disabilities go to our public schools. This is not okay, that we are sacrificing our students, that we are abandoning them so that we can pay for tax cuts for billionaires.
There's a lot of talk about school choice and the vouchers and giving parents more opportunity to put their kids in private school. There's all sorts of arguments about who that actually benefits. But I just want to make a point about public schools and children with disabilities. Private schools don't have to teach them. They're not required to teach them. They don't have to allow a student to stay in their school if they don't feel like that student is working within the environment that they've set up. Public schools have to teach everybody, so they make it work. It's very important for them to get the funding, especially for students that have learning challenges. I do want to ask one hard question here, though, and that is the outcome. Student outcomes in this country are not good. The assessment about reading is not good. Lots of kids can't read at their grade level. Assessments on math, not good. How do you defend a department when the outcomes in this country are so bad?
You know, Katie, I taught middle school science for 31 years, and this is what I know. The outcomes that we are talking about for our students are directly related to the resources that are put into those students. We know that those outcomes are based on what our students and families make, their incomes. It always has been that case. And the federal government, as you know, the Department of Education was established right at the end of the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act. because we know that we have so many inequities that the federal government wanted to make sure that we could fill those gaps. But we know that if we turn away from our public schools, if we try to privatize and voucherize them, taking money away from our public schools, we know that our students will be harmed. And let me point this out too, Katie. You know, the voters in Kentucky, every single one of its 120 counties said, no, we will not support vouchers. And do you know why? Because their rural schools depend on that money. And they know that private schools are not going to meet the needs of their schools. So they said, not my school. They did that in Nebraska as well. And right here in Colorado, where I am, the voters said, no, you will not take money out of our public schools to give them to private schools. So the Trump administration needs to listen to the voters who say, no, fund our public schools, because those are the schools that will prepare our students to live and grow and thrive.
Becky Pringle, it's really good to have you. We're going to keep an eye on that executive order signing to find out what exactly is in it. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Katie.